I've been wanting to do this video for so long, but all the scripts I wrote on this were really bad. Let me just make something clear. I won't really use a lot of footage and I won't play the mod myself because installing it is such a nightmare, so forgive the lack of unrepetitive footage. Think of this as a podcast or background noise, and please bear with me. And also, this review will be very ranty and petty, but I don't mean any hate to the people who put in effort for this. But I will call out the bullshit because I'm just iconic like that. And trust me, there is so much bullshit in this mod that goes beyond just toxicity and cringy writing. Anyways, hi, this is Bimbo Twink, and today's subject in my classroom will be about a certain Skyrim mod that is infamous for being possibly the most bizarre and toxic romance ever. Before we start, I want to give a huge shout out to foulserpent and girlslapsurazz. Both of these mothers were out here clocking Bishop when I was too lazy to record my own thoughts. Go check out their channels and watch all of their videos on Bishop, because they go very in-depth and probably will have more to say about the mod than me. But regardless, let's continue. The mod we're going to be talking about today is a Skyrim mod simply called Skyrim Romance. How creative. So, the most bizarre thing about the mod is what exactly it's trying to classify itself as. Like, when you know what exactly the contents of the mod itself are and you compare it to the presentation aspect, it's just really perplexing and frankly makes no sense. Picture this, you open the Nexus mods page and look the mod up. Let's start by reading the whole thing, and analyzing one of the key elements that the page is trying to advertise.
Have you ever wished you could explore the land with a ruggedly handsome ranger, for a dashing knight to whisk you to a grand ball? Ever fantasize about capturing the heart of a forsworn chief? Do you want the men of Skyrim to recognize you for the beautiful, powerful Dovkian that you are? If so, you have come to the right mod.
Okay, that was a lot. Again, I want you guys to keep in mind that the very description of the mod is implying that there are several romance interests available. Like, just keep that in mind. Also, please don't look through the images of the mod. I unfortunately did that and now I need therapy. Anyway, if you go straight to the point, you'll see that the mod looks exceedingly difficult to install. Why is that? Well, TLDR. Basically, the entire mod is designed with a Skyrim sex animation mod in mind, so installing it requires a bunch of steps. I'll get to the weird sex obsession this mod has in a bit. But let's just briefly address the really weird installation tutorial video. So yeah, they made an install tutorial vid and the entire way it's written and all really reinforces the strange presentation of the mod. Like, the weird fixation on a manly romance where you, as the female player, are idolized as you deserve to be, which really speaks volumes about what we're gonna encounter in the mod. Basically, this mod was made by, presumably, and for straight female players. Are you a lesbian who wants a friendship with Bishop? Get out. Are you perhaps a gay dude looking for a relationship? Get out. Well, except not really. Because Bishop just thinks you're a woman all the time. It's kinda funny. That's also another odd thing, that the mod is just specifically for straight female players. Not that it's really a bad thing, it's just weird because Bishop has no kind of coded interactions with male players. Like, they're just assuming you're already female from the jump. They could have at least attempted to make a platonic male route or even have Bishop dismiss you, but yeah, no. He just pretends you're a really hot baddie. This guy could have even been bisexual or had some kind of internalized homophobia for a reason, but this is Bishop we're talking about. Anyway, you guys will understand why the presentation aspect of the mod directly clashes with the contents and the writing. Keep this in mind, this is supposed to be designed as a female power trip. That's what it's attempting to target itself as. There's also some parts where it tries to market itself as wholesome, which just makes it triple bizarro. Okay, one final thing for now. This is what's written a bit further below on the page.
Additional credits. Names of Bishop, Neeshka, Avir and Conwy were inspired by one of my favorite games, Neverwinter Nights 2. I do not claim ownership of said characters. This mod is a fan fiction tribute and I in no way own these characters. Over the past 6 years our team had built Skyrim Romance with a skilled team of writers, modders, voice actors to give these characters new personalities, backstories and rebuild their characters for a more enthralling and enjoyable experience.
Yeah, just keep that in mind as we go, okay? Moving on to the next topic. Alright, so before we even meet Bishop, we come across two catcallers. There's no way you can really interact with them, you can't kill them because they're essential. And guess what, there's billions of them scattered around the entire game map. This is basically the mod's idea of female empowerment and peak femininity apparently. Just having skeevy guys hitting on you because you're the Dragonborn and everyone knows you. Actually, this entire mod hinges upon this plot point. Bishop is the only character that doesn't really acknowledge you directly as the Dragonborn, but every other character does, or at least, most of them do. So yeah, the entire idea of the mod is that you, as the Dragonborn, deserve recognition from everyone else, which is fair, but it's not respect or recognition, it's literally just catcalling and harassment. Anyway, next to the catcallers, we meet Bishop. So to break it down, Bishop is basically that one kid you probably met in high school. He's probably like the class clown who gets clocked by the preppy girls squad this one time. And then suddenly he dedicates his entire existence to hating women like it's a job. His dialogue personality is trying so hard to be like Billy Cohen. With the pet names and the way he just assumes you're incompetent and keeps blaming you for random things. You can try to roast him back, but he seems unbothered and pretty much just rude. This is basically Bishop's general personality, just an asshole. But as you continue traveling with him, he pretty much becomes horny as fuck and constantly makes leery comments at your character. And asks for sex out of nowhere, several times. This is kinda where the straight female audience advertisement comes in, which I warned you about. The mod says that it's female empowerment but then basically gives you a rapist companion who only wants sex. Also, I think now is a good time to comment that this mod is pretty sexist towards men as well. There's some really fucked up stuff regarding one of the other NPCs which I'll get to, but yeah. Treating men like these sex pest freaks as a whole is just really toxic. Bishop essentially doesn't know what consent means, or at least, he doesn't give a fuck. When you first meet Bishop, he's a dick to you, and he then says that his wolf Carnweir, another character stolen from Neverwinter Nights 2, is in trouble. He doesn't really ask for help. The female character just needs to be a pushover and kinda force herself to help Bishop because he's just that bad socially. But yeah, you go to a bandit den, rescue his wolf. Who Bishop seems suspiciously close to. I don't know which one of these two he is, to be honest. Basically all of Bishop's lines are terrible. His backstory makes no sense and has extremely bizarre twists that aren't really fulfilled, so it just looks unfinished. Bishop's story kinda works in this very oddly specific dating sim combined with a road trip story format. Basically, a man hears about you because you're just too much of a baddie, and he invites you to meet him, or you just run along him on the road. The man is initially much nicer to you than Bishop is. Bishop then gets into some kinda dick measuring contest with him and or tries to prove that the man's intentions are manipulative. To which Bishop ultimately wins, and proves the other man as the weaker male, and the Dragonborn can't really do anything to stop it, no matter how much she scolds Bishop over it. Aside from this, Bishop has the aforementioned sex pest events, but he also has a few unique ones that stand out. But before we talk about that, we need to dive into the NPCs, the side characters included in the Bishop mod. Okay, this will be a longer topic to talk about, because there are a lot of NPCs, so I'll try to organize them by order and talk about them more briefly unless I need to go in depth. So, there's two categories of NPCs in Bishop's story. There are the original NPCs, which are totally new characters made by the creators, and there are the Neverwinter Nights 2 clones. Those are basically rehashed off of the original game, but still drastically tweaked in very bizarre ways. First, let me go over all of the Bishop love rivals, regardless of originality. I forgot if he's the first or not, but let's start with Darren. You find Darren in Winterhold and he offers you to drink some mead with him or whatever. He's a mage or something. Anyway, you two are having a romantic chat and he unironically clocks Bishop, until we get the same format of the dick measuring contest, which Darren loses, and Bishop and the Dragonborn leave him behind. Keep in mind, all of the love rivals are never seen or utilized again, which is a major shame, because most of them are more interesting than Bishop himself. So, right off the bat, I'm just gonna say it, but Darren is really twink-coded. Like, Barbie movie gay villain coded. This feels like one of those tropes to throw in dudes who seem to be designed specifically to be gay in a straight romance setting, so it just feels really bizarre. Bishop even mocks Darren for being short and physically weak, so yeah, take that as you will. Next one, Cassavir, the paladin with non-specific virtues. Jesus Christ, this guy is bizarre. So, you meet him at Solitude and he constantly addresses you as Dragonborn. He invites you to dance with him at the royal ball that's apparently just going on, out of nowhere. Again, the same pattern of the dick measuring contest. But this one is fucking bizarre. Bishop alludes that Casimir has some kind of dark past. Apparently, the two have some unfinished and random backstory together where they ran into each other and it's implied Casimir killed Bishop's brother or whatever. But Bishop constantly insists on the fact that because Casimir is a man, he won't be able to resist his urges, and he will immediately fold and want to have sex with the Dragonborn. It's done so bizarrely. Casimir's entire thing feels like sexual repression, sex shaming, just overall vague religious trauma, and worst of all, it's done in a way where it makes him look like a literal rapist. It's just really fucked up and handled very insensitively. You might be starting to notice a pattern here. Bishop constantly uses other men who are seemingly nicer than him and villainizes them and claims they're all just using the Dragonborn. Of course, this hits like a fucking pillow because Bishop is pretty much just gaslighting you with this bullshit, and he emphasizes that the fact that because he's honest and blunt about being sexual and creepy means that he is an actually good person, rather than the other men who seemingly hide their desires behind a mask. It's, wow, like, seriously. I have to wonder how a whole-ass team of women came up with this and thought this was the bomb. Anyway, Casimir invites you to the ball, you pick a gown, dance with him for a bit, he says more comments about his vague, non-specified religious vows, and then suddenly Bishop shows up and steals the show, and then you just never see Casimir again. Cool. Next up is Alec, Prince of Song. This guy is also really weird, but he somehow manages to be the least relevant. You find him in Windhelm, doing bard stuff, with really bad voice acting / singing. Anyway, he gets attracted to you for being the Dragonborn and apparently wants to sing for you. He invites you to his show, you see him sing. And then Bishop tries to clock him. Alec is weird, Bishop says some edgy wolf shit, it's over. Not much to say about this entire exchange, but I guess the entire message is that men who remotely do anything artistic or uncommon are considered feminine and worthless. These writers must really like Millie Bobby Brown. Okay, so this next one is the most interesting one, and unironically the best character in the entire fucking mod. Kale, the Forsworn member. His exchange is pretty much random. But he's very cryptic yet polite to you, much more than any of the other male characters have been. He's basically a better version of Bishop, he even has the same haircut. Anyway, Bishop calls his sister a slut because he loves respecting women. He gets clocked, and then Kale kinda just never shows up again. It really sucks because this guy is the only good character of the mod, and he is actually very interesting. So, as the disclaimer stated, they said the characters were inspired by NWN2, but they are pretty much copies with really odd personalized tweaks. They may as well have made entirely new characters. I've heard there was quite a bit of controversy over this, and some old drama surrounding the mod and this particular topic. Seriously. When you play the actual game and compare the characters here, they genuinely make no sense other than for Bishop himself, who was always an asshole, but no. They seriously just butchered a ton of the characters. The characters taken from the game were Bishop, Casimir, Karnweir and finally, Neeshka. Let's talk about her. Okay, this one will never fail to piss me off. At some point you go to Whiterun and you can go the bannered mare because Bishop wants to take a bath with you or whatever. Anyway, you come across this, Neeshka, who appears to be a barmaid who keeps hitting on Bishop. He keeps roasting her, and she gets genuinely annoyed and keeps pestering you, saying that the Dragonborn is lucky to have Bishop.
What? Anyways.
Anyway, the point is, Neeshka wasn't originally like this at all in the game she came from. She was a different species, was very sassy, quirky and iconic, and she even roasts Bishop in the actual game for coercing a woman to have sex with him and suggests setting him on fire.
She's got a point, she's an icon, she's a legend, and she is the moment.
So basically, the developers seem to really hate her. So they basically just not only flanderized her by sexualizing her, but they also made it all come across in a really toxic way. It's pretty slut-shamey. But it's also vague in the sense that it doesn't explicitly say if Neeshka is a sex worker, because it just vaguely says she's also a thief and a manipulative leech that takes advantage of men. All I know is that a diva was robbed, and Neeshka deserved better. She was one of the few mothers who was able to directly clock Bishop, and she deserves credit for that. And no, I'm not just talking about Bishop. So yeah, at some point in the game, Bishop will randomly tell you about this bandit dude who happens to be a rapist. Bishop, being the incredibly considerate and sensible being he is, he calls the victims wenches. The bandit's name is Thorn, an original character. And this guy is probably one of the worst things regarding the mod. Bishop suggests going into the guy's dungeon and killing him, which would be a very nice quest, hunting down a rapist. If the mod's tone-deaf irony wasn't biting itself in the ass already. So you go to the dungeon and there's really graphic and creepy imagery of Thorn's victims stuck in cells dead. It's pretty gnarly. Eventually you reach Thorn's chambers and you see the holy grail of cringe DeviantArt 2010 fanfic. So, Bishop, being the awesome boyfriend that he is, apparently claims that they're outmatched, given the fact that there's Thorn and 6 bandits all in one room, which is bullshit because we can literally foulserpent those bitches away lol. But anyway, Bishop tries to literally sell you to Thorn. Yeah, I don't even know lol. Every writing decision made here is already as questionable as my sanity after I played through this entire mod. Anyways, Bishop selling you becomes pointless because you end up fighting Thorn and all the bandits anyway. A weird thing is that Thorn keeps talking about the Dragonborn having a price on her head, which is extremely ambiguous and makes no sense. He also acts like Santa Claus. After the fight, the female character becomes a total idiotic pushover and can either scold Bishop or praise him for trying to sell her.
Hi, Daddy. Picture you come home and you see this.
Okay, so to the mod's credit here, the concept isn't entirely bad. And the ending/journey could have been a more depressing and silent or vengeful take on the topic, but they only threw this in for shock value. And they only threw this in here in order to humanize Bishop, despite the fact he himself already shows rapist behavior and coerces you into having sex with him. But no, writers. The fact that you tried to glorify Bishop here to make a bigger villain than him to throw all of the problematic aspects on him, didn't work, because they're both just as bad as each other in the end. I know I keep saying this, but this has to be the actual most bizarre part of the mod, and it shows. After a significant point in time, Bishop becomes extremely annoyed at you for being so kind, caring and helping other people in need. He calls you stupid and eventually says that there's way too much going on and that you need to basically elope together.
Why the fuck? Who? What?
For no reason. I think he also refuses to tag along with you if you keep doing the main quest. So yeah, Bishop quite literally impregnates you. This is literally Haunting Grounds plot but garbage. And you can't really avoid Bishop getting you pregnant, and when he does, you get sent to a time skip end game period, which feels super bizarre. The first thing you see is Bishop playing with a white child.
This is a white child!
Yeah, it doesn't matter what race you are. The child will always be a human white boy. I know it would realistically be too hard to create so many child variants, but they could have at least fucking tried anyway. You may be wondering why I called this the Ghost Mom arc in the topic title. Well, it's because here, we basically get several scenarios where Bishop and the kid, his name is Julian by the way, are basically just together and Bishop is being the world's shittiest dad and giving him sexist advice. The player basically becomes a ghost spectator after we see Bishop successfully isolate her from the rest of the world. So now it really feels like one of those deep stories that tries making a stand about topics like this, except there is no stand, and we're actually just supposed to find this cute and endearing.
Women are funny creatures, son.
Also really off topic, but I found this Twitter account that really fucking hates this particular little boy from the Bishop mod. I just found it really funny lol, so give them some love. Then, the funniest part is that the kid draws you as a blonde white human. Honestly, there's not much to talk about this part. It just further reinforces the weird trophy wife fetish this mod has going on. And it romanticizes casual sexism and is just generally the most bizarre endgame arc I've ever seen. So the funniest thing is that I started to watch several Neverwinter Nights 2 clips and I found that several Bishop moments, especially those with Casimir, were just genuinely better written and executed. Bishop was still an asshole and still had the same sexual coercion going on at points, but there was much more self-awareness going on. Especially because Neeshka the flop-ending mother was around to clock Bishop when he pulled anything like that. That's called self-awareness, and the difference between Bishop's harassment being romanticized in the mod and called out in the original game is day and night. But yeah, Bishop's dialogue had better writing, and even the romance aspect, despite the lack of an actual romance route itself, seemed better. It was less about Bishop coercing the female character and more about the character herself siding with Bishop as he offered evil roots and ideas. Which feels much more natural in comparison to whatever was going on in the mod. Also, I think Bishop always ends up as a villain by the end. I'm not really sure, but again, this just further proves my point about the self-awareness. So basically, this mod just had no reason to exist. It offered nothing new. It should have just been a Bishop-inspired character with much better execution. As much as I really hate this mod, I can't help but feel like it's also just wasted potential. A lovable asshole romance is one of the easiest things to do, and because of this weird obsession they had with female empowerment and fetishization, it just landed horribly. When the side characters are more likable or interesting than the main selling point of the mod, then there's something wrong with your priorities. I only recently learned of this and it was pretty shocking, actually, since I don't think anyone else talked about it before. Apparently, Bishop has a few special dialogues regarding the Dawnguard DLC, if you play through it. He makes a really strange remark about one of the snow elf characters. And the most fucked up part is that he ends up saying some weird shit regarding Serana's backstory. Which is really insensitive given the fact she was basically sexually assaulted to gain her vampire powers. I don't have footage of those dialogues, but I just wanted to make this known. If anyone else was curious enough to go digging around, maybe I'll give it a try myself and show these dialogues on my channel. There could also be more dialogues in the Dragonborn DLC. But at this point, I don't know either. The point is, as if this mod didn't disrespect sexual assault as a topic enough already, this is basically just the icing on the shit sundae. Okay, I'll just briefly address this. The Bishop mod had a much older version with a lot of key differences, mainly voice actors, some dialogue, designs and so on. But the most notable difference is that Bishop basically attempted to cut through the Dragonborn's armor with a knife if she refuses to have sex with him. Which was long changed in the newer versions of the mod. Yikes. Also, I forgot to address this in any other segment, but there are a few characters I forgot to talk about. There's a drunk creepy pirate dude who makes leery comments towards the character, and Bishop, instead of shutting him down, also makes leery comments. Lastly, we have two really creepy female NPCs. One of them sells a dress to you before the Casimir ball, and has a very strange attitude, and another one is responsible for getting you and Bishop married to each other. They both just have very bizarre and submissive personalities, like they're not even aware of what's going on. Anyway, on to the extras. So what else came from this, you might ask? So apparently, Mara, the creator of the Bishop mod, was also involved with creating a romance mod for Casimir, which seems like it's in development hell for decades, and just looks like it has a pretty low quality. The textures look bad, the meshes look bad, and even Casimir himself was unyasified. Anyway, Mara was also recently creating a romance mod for Kale, and that one surprisingly seems to look much more professional and finished, which is a great turn of events. However, it's been stuck in development since 2023 and I just wonder if it'll ever come out. I really hope it does given the fact that Kale is the best romance option in the entire mod. And he actually has more unique backstory than the other characters. Well, I don't have much else to say by this point. If you want to learn more about Bishop, please check out these two channels that I mentioned in my intro, as they have very informative and deeper insight on him, along with a few other extras regarding the creators or side content relating to these characters. Anyway, this was Bimbo Twink, and I hope you enjoyed this messy little essay.